Every day for 12 years. That's what they did in the Bikini Island. The Americans. And because the country was, the islands were wiped out, they said very thin, just like a bikini. So someone made the bikini. The continent made a big fashion splash at the world fashion industry.
How many carriers do you say America has?
Dozens.
They have 19.
Okay.
Your math is off, and that calls into question other things you might
What
say.
I actually said was...
I just wanted to point that out. They have 19.
China has one.
No, 19.
But it means you probably
Now.
want to check your other stuff up. I'm an historian, I can tell you right now.
Good. Check it out now. Someone check now, please. How many aircraft carriers America got? Someone check now.
19.
Someone check it now. On the
I
internet.
did, 19.
On the internet. Show me the source.
Well, I searched it on here. Anybody hit Google, put in aircraft carrier. How many aircraft
Look
carriers?
up US submarine.com by pricing.
Come back to that in a minute. We're discussing something else now. We'll come back to that later. Now.
CIA handbook.
Now. Why has America encircled China? CFR policy. Donald Trump doesn't like China.
No, he agrees with the one China policy.
Why? Because
He agrees with the one China policy.
You have 19, they might be
Good relations with Russia and China. Makes sense.
They don't have guns.
so it's 19, not that.
He's talking about inflation.
Check on everything else he's been saying for us.
Thank you for that. Very useful.
Well, I only have access to Google, not to TARDIS databanks.
Now, the argument I was making was as follows. The United States of America is aiming its weapons and its navy and its military at China. Why? Because China, its economic growth means that it will overtake America by 2030 economically.
That's Marxist
That,
theory,
of
but
course,
yet to be
is Marxist theory. That's the calculation of the rate of growth of China.
That also
Now,
depends if
China's
they keep
rate
their
of growth
factories
collapses
operating with their
to
shutting
zero,
down for
below
rate.
zero.
most of the stuff is being
Well, that has
produced
nothing to do with the
produced
issue we're talking about.
Western
I said
China is cutting back
overtake
on
America
its
economically.
on
That
its
would not
manufacturing.
mean
That
that
follows
China's
the Chinese.
living
No,
standards
it's
outstrip
a
America.
Western corporation.
It would mean
But-
that China's economic
but China's
production
cutting back on
outstrips
manufacturing.
America.
You're just beginning to see
Not the
China
same thing.
establish-
We're talking mainland China,
Yes, the People's Republic of China.
and not just Hong Kong and Shanghai and the main cities, because the rest of China's not doing very
No,
well.
you didn't listen to what I said. I said the economic growth of the country reaches a point where the total production of China exceeds that of America. That's the question. I accept that living standards are much lower in China than in America. Having said that, about a third of the population of China have living standards quite similar to Britain. About a third of the population of China. The urban dwellers. They have living standards above South Korea. Put it that way. Now, you wanted to say.
I think you're going to agree with me.
Okay, you're going to say to me.
So the credit Swiss methodology, which is what
He's the
Oxfam
sugar.
uses to calculate wealth, is assets minus assets less debt. I can read it out to you if you want. So someone who just has a shack, by their methodology, I don't agree with this, but this is the flaw.
You said you're
No.
according to this.
What I was
you
trying
said.
to say-
You
what I was
said
trying to
according
say-
to. What you're
May I
trying to say. What
may
you
I
did say.
articulate it for myself?
What you did say, or
I
what
may,
you're
have, I
trying
may
to
have
say.
misspoken, but let me
thank
be
you.
very clear.
Okay, good.
The failure in Oxfam's methodology is that they use a methodology where it's assets less debt.
I understood
Now,
that.
in that methodology,
That's not what you said,
in that methodology, it leads to them counting people in sub-Saharan Africa with zero as being better off than me with £30,000 of debt. Now, that's clearly the point I'm making is that's materially wrong. I am not poorer than them. I am
Claim
obviously.
that. You claim. I still don't agree that that's like.
Okay.
what
Do you agree with the
You
definition?
can send it to me later
assets
on.
less
Fine.
debt.
It depends what you mean. No.
No, I mean, well, I've got the
No.
credit. I've got the article. You asked it for me.
Yes, I understood that. But assets less debts can also
So
imply many
defined as
other
the
things.
marketable
For
value
example,
of financial
for
assets
example,
plus non-financial assets and less debt.
marketable value,
Yes.
assets.
Less debt.
So in other words, housing counts as an asset.
Check
Yes.
everything.
I don't own a house. I don't own a house.
You may, your parents might.
No, I know, but
you
I'm
might be due
trying
for
to
inheritance
demonstrate.
from your parents.
I'm trying to demonstrate to you that the methodology is flawed. That's all I want you to agree
It's a
with.
methodology. It's a methodology.
It's a methodology that counts
You're
me as
saying
richer
it's
than someone
flawed.
in sub-Saharan
You're
Africa.
saying it's
You're
flawed.
also agreeing that it's flawed.
All methodologies of statistical analysis are flawed from one point of view or other. Right?
Okay.
They have set down a criteria they believe is accurate.
or more accurate than other criteria. Now, you've qualified what that criteria are. What you said, however, was that you, therefore, in their figures, count as poorer than someone in sub-Saharan Africa.
And that's why
I don't believe that is correct.
Under their methodology, it is.
I don't believe that is correct.
That should show you.
You haven't shown me that.
It shows you the
No, you
evidence.
claimed it.
Okay,
No, no,
okay,
no,
hold
no,
on
no.
a second. If you
He has
believe it's
claimed
correct,
it.
put it on an Excel spreadsheet, one single
That's
sheet,
awesome.
bring it down, and that's
Show
the
us
end
the
of it.
How is this
relevant.
not self-evidently?
Because you've made your point, we understand
let's
what the
move on.
arguments are. I understand what the arguments are. I still disagree that that's factual what you've said.
And can we move on?
It's not interesting. Let's move on.
Because I'm not sitting in front of the documents, pulling it out and explaining it. Because the idea that that's simply, that they're saying everyone in Africa is poorer than England, that's rubbish. Rubbish.
The other way around.
They know fully well. Total GDP of Britain is very high. Right? They know that fully well. That's also, assets in Britain is also resources for production.
It's not. That's
Millions-
your
It
definition.
is, he's right about that.
Oh, okay. I can't
Let we come
Yeah, let's move on.
I'm happy to discuss this with you
Let's not.
on the internet, right? We know each other on the internet, I
spare each
believe. No. This is the way to resolve these things, because the fact of the matter is, when I speak at Speaker's Corner, when I started speaking at Speaker, there was no internet, right? You could argue what you like, come out with whatever you like.
What year was that?
1986. At least not internet in everyone's hands. Now, when I started speaking at Speaker's Corner in 1986, no internet was being used for data reference. Therefore, you could argue your case, you'd have to come up with Encyclopedia Britannica and that sort of thing. My dad used to do that, have arguments all night long, and then they never had any reference, and they just carry on arguing, and one would pompously attack the other. And say, you're wrong, and that was it.
You'd never do
right?
that with
Now, you're trying to do that with me, and
No,
I'm
I'm not.
saying
I've
to
got it out on
you,
my phone.
there's a way round this. You're my friend on the internet, I believe.
I'm your friend in real
You
life.
can
mate.
look that up. You can look that up.
Virtually.
Ideological enemies, but friends.
You can look. I don't have many
need enemies when
friends
you've got
on the
friends like
internet
that.
who are also friends in real life. I must admit that. But if you look it up on the
Quite a
internet,
confession.
then you can send me the reference data. I can send you my responses. And if I'm wrong and you were right,
Short
I will
responses.
come here next week and say, we discussed this
Kiss
on the
arse.
internet,
Someone
and
has
his
to kiss
position was
arse.
right, and my position was
I want
wrong.
you to wear a sign.
I don't have any problem. Not only do I not have a problem, but I've shown that in relation to the 19 aircraft carriers a couple of minutes ago.
You're a good guy.
I'm not obsessed by something I come out with at Speaker's Corner. I'm speaking my mind,
you are
which
obsessed with
means
Marxism.
I
just
will
know why this guy,
occasionally
don't worry.
get a figure wrong. What
Very
about it?
honourable.
What about it?
I agree.
I'm not a member of
This is why I'm
Parliament who has to
surprised
watch
you're
every
wrong.
second word they say
totally
and
agree
talk
with you.
crap. And actually, one of the reasons Donald Trump was elected was because he had that attitude. He said, I don't give a shit what I'm saying.
And he does
I'll
talk
say what
crap.
I'm saying. I'll fire from the hip. And if people like it, they'll vote for me. And they did. Because people actually aren't all that concerned about the data.
How's the million membership figure
They're
going?
concerned about their sense, how it affects
Popularity
them,
terrible.
how it relates to them, how the world is moving, how they feel it's moving. Viewpoints are not structured around facts. Viewpoints are structured around interest. This is the way the world is.
Oh, you're right. in
How
every
could it
sense.
be different? Take the example here. This is a case that's This is a case happening to me now. Right? I am being evicted from the place I live because I asked the council what is going to happen to a public.
I have footage that I could show you of me, what you would consider a number 9, and what looks suspiciously like Missy in 2012, saving the Earth from solar flare activity, much like the Carrigan event back in the 1880s.
But you dress like Tom Baker.
Yes.
But you're appropriating Tom Baker rather than
Well,
yourself.
no. Remember
changed.
I said you might try some old faces, you might also try some old styles. With this particular body, this works.
Okay.
And I'm a redhead. I burn like a mongrel.
Are you a Time Lord?
Yeah.
Master of Time?
I wouldn't call me that.
Well,
Have you seen how many times I've crashed the TARDIS? Just here and now, you know.
And where is the TARDIS? Mate, I think it was invisible. Sorry.
Well,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
whenever you land in England, you materialise it over the ones in Earl's Court. Nobody raises an eyebrow.
Tell me something from the future.
The truth, well, all right, very simply. You thought that there's something inside your timeline. You thought that the last US election was worth watching. You haven't seen anything yet.
All right, let me ask you another question.
No, the 2020
That's a popular number.
will be the most democratic U.S. election in history because everyone's going to stand up to be elected.
Oh, we know about that, right? In 2020.
Yeah.
Let's go a bit further. Let's say 3020. Tell me something from there.
Well, California is going to get the big one well before that.
Okay, we know that.
I'll give you that.
I think I even know that. I'm not time lord, but I know that.
I can't remember. You also remember
All right.
if you watch a movie, I can't tell you much.
You been to any places, like any different planets? So you believe planets exist? Can you name one? What you been to?
Well, let's see. Well, there's so many. You'll have to narrow it down.
How does one survive without being crushed in a vacuum of space?
One does not go into a vacuum in space.
Yeah. You go in your TARDIS.
You can't survive in a vacuum in space. You need equipment.
Okay, so if that's the case, yeah, we don't have a vacuum on Earth. So what is the barrier between the vacuum of space, the non-vacuum of space, and
It varies planet to planet. On this particular one, was
what's the barrier? What is the solid barrier?
solid? Well, there's no solid barrier.
Is there not?
It's a question of gas.
So the gases can
Yes, you're
divide,
surrounded by oxygen right here, right?
and that can hold the pressures of a vacuum of space.
You're going to discover. Well, you're discovering gravity lensing at the moment. You've had with the experiment, or with the two black holes coming together. And in the last lineup, it's basically a big lineup of all the planets. You don't need a whole lineup of all the planets to get a good yoink on the sun to increase solar activity. You only have to get a partial lineup, which was what you got in 2012.
Still confused about the vacuum of space and the non-vacuum here, and where's it
It's
start,
very
where's
simple.
it stop?
Gravity causes things to coalesce together. You get oxygen, which falls down into the gravity well, and as you get outside of the gravity well, there's less of it.
But what separates it?
Gravity is mostly it.
Gravity.
Well, without gravity, you wouldn't stick to the planet. The oxygen wouldn't fall adhere to the bit on the outside.
That's density.
Well, yes, it's all something with gravity, though. Gravity increases density, doesn't it?
I don't know what gravity is, but I know what density is.
Gravity is the ability for you to hold on to the planet and not be hurled off into space.
Sounds like a theory.
Well, everything's a theory. Well, here's something to consider.
Well, density, you're quite dense. So
Here's
that's quite
something
real.
to consider. Absolutely every invention in human history, from the shoes you're wearing, to this stick, to that camera, to your glasses, hat,
Was
and
a
everything.
theory.
No, absolutely everything, at one point or another, was considered absolutely impossible and an insurmountable thing to do. Everything you are wearing was considered impossible at one point or another.
I wouldn't say impossible.
No, at one point or another.
I would say impossible.
If you go back far enough,
I
the
don't
mon-
think-
do you think a monkey would look at what you're wearing and consider it possible?
Not really.
Exactly. At one point or another, absolutely everything was considered to be impossible and insurmountable and not able to be achieved. And yet they were done.
Well, let's agree to disagree on that one. I don't believe that.
Ask
I
a,
would agree that.
ask a scientist.
I wouldn't ask a scientist. That's the thing.
Now, see, that's basically the problem. You see, you're wondering, he's going about Trump and all the rest of it. The problem is you have to learn to ask a scientist again and trust what the scientist tells you.
Why?
Because scientists know things, because they spend years in universities poking the universe until it goes squeak.
But don't they, the scientists, have the biggest ego when, especially if they're wrong, spending all their lives on one particular thing to find out
being
they
wrong
were
can be one of the single most humbling experiences you could experience, because everything a scientist thought was right and then they find out they were wrong, and then it can be a crashing.
Exactly, crashing. That's
Scientists have stopped. Have halted research, have stopped being scientists because they've been going along assuming one thing and then discovering something is wrong. But the good scientists turn around and go, oh, I found out something I thought was fundamentally right is fundamentally wrong. So they go on to find out why it was wrong, and then they try and find out why.
Tell me something. Do you believe that the Earth is a sphere?
Yes, of course it is.
Whereas a lot
Well,
of
mostly
people-
it's not actually a sphere. It's more like a
Ellipsoid.
squash. It's more like a squash thing because it goes
like a
bulges out
pear
the middle.
shape, like Tyson.
Well, no,
aggressive.
because a pear shape is like this. It's more like a circle with it's slightly squashed.
How come we've never seen an image of such of the Earth
Hmm?
in its squash shape?
How big is that camera lens?
How big is the Hubble lens and
Now,
the,
no,
and
no.
the sun?
All right, now
I
look.
mean, we can see the sun
Now,
in its full,
no.
full glory.
Put a perfectly circular marble with a fuzzy edge around. You know, all right. When you see the Earth, what do you see?
I've never seen it, but
No.
look,
Think
hypothetically.
of when you see the sphere of Earth in space. What do you see?
Well, you've suggested two things. One, you suggested it's a sphere.
You see the you see the atmosphere around the hard bit.
Supposedly, yeah.
Right, and that atmosphere has, as you've said, has a very hard, like, where is the defining line? If you have an ill-defined line in a black area and you're trying to define a circle, it's hard to see.
It's a great theory.
No, it's
Interesting.
it's the fuzzy edge of the atmosphere against a black screen.
I mean, we do have a fuzzy atmospheric
And,
effect
no, and on top of that,
on
on
the surface.
top of that, it's not one color. Think of a red ball or a red slightly squashed ball against a black background. It's very clear. But when you look at the Earth, you see a blue marble with white splodgy bits and green and brown splodgy bits
Supposedly, yeah.
because it's not one uniform color. This also helps find it hard to define where that exact circle is.
That edge.
Right.
But what about the sun? I mean,
What about it?
It's quite a circular shape. I'm sure it's not just one colour.
Well, you've got to remember it's all a bit messy because I mean Jupiter doesn't orbit the sun. It orbits slightly to one side of it.
I think that's another debate. But
No, it's not. No. You're debating science. If you try and debate what is demonstratively science will come up and squash you. And you can argue all you want, but the boulder is still going to flatten you like Wile E. Coyote.
I don't think so.
Try it out.
Sounds like
No,
a Copernicus kind of thinking to me.
Stand in front of a giant wave that's coming at you. This is science. It's going to get you, and you're trying to tell it, no, I believe it won't. And while you're doing that, it still flattens you.
That's a good image and it's a good metaphor, but
It's not a metaphor. Stand
for
in an
science.
ocean.
But it still doesn't stand up for what I use, which is my senses and my reason.
Because you are
No, so-
because you're a squishy human. So you're a squishy. These are all squishy humans, and your operating system and your hardware, your eyes, your brain, your interpretive skills, and everything are not the same as him, not the same as me, not the same as them. So what you're seeing is never going to be exactly what everybody else sees.
Are you not standing on a flat surface right
No,
now?
this is not flat.
So what are you?
The Earth is curved.
Are you leaning to the left
No,
or the right?
no, but
Can you feel the inertia or the blood rushing to your head?
No, but the Earth is curved. But from our perspective, it looks flat.
So are we upside down or right way up? Right now.
Well, now let's see. That depends. Let's see.
And
The
what
universe
is-
is exploding like this. You have to find the midpoint, and then you have to find out if our solar system is actually flat on the midpoint, or is it slightly off like that, and then our solar system
The
isn't
next
there.
question would be, where is the up and the down on the sphere?
On a what?
On the sphere.
The up and down is depends on your perspective. Where you're where you're standing, that's up, that's down. If you cut through the Earth,
That's local.
Yeah, but
on a
yeah.
global perspective. Meaning being in terms of a perspective beyond the local positioning of perspective.
You're only ever going to have your local perspective. You cannot stand here and transfer yourself to be inside someone else to observe where they're standing. At best, you can get.
You could do it on Skype.
No, you. Well, actually, with the right camera set up, if you put it right there, theoretically, you can look through the eyes of someone else. But what it comes down to is, from their perspective, is based on some of yours. They're still standing on a flat sphere, or
What are they up?
a circular
Or are they
sphere that
down
looks
on the
flat.
sphere? Oh, I like that one. Flat sphere.
Yeah, because from your perspective, it's flat.
Well, which way is the person in Australia standing right now? Is the blood rushing to his head?
No,
Why not?
because gravity.
Well, I mean, you can go on a swing and go upside down
Yes.
and feel the blood rush to your head.
Yeah, but that's
Why is
that's because you're forcing against local gravity.
local gravity. So on a sphere, on a global gravity
Yeah.
kind of position,
Yes.
how would it affect a person in Australia?
To do what?
I mean, if you fly a plane,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
your localization is changing constantly, is it not?
Yes.
So therefore you feel the inertia.
But that inertia is, it's part of gravity, but what it comes down to is the gravity here. I mean, there are differences in the gravitational field, just like there's differences in the magnetic field. But the differences
I agree
in
with magnetic fields,
the
because that has a push and a pull which I can visibly see and
What- yeah.
understand.
But what it comes down is
the gravitational
the minimum.
pull, but I've never seen a gravitational push.
The minimum changes in local gravity field and magnetic field are below that of which you can detect as a human being. You're not a bird. You don't navigate by magnetic field. You navigate by Google Maps
Or a compass.
or a compass. But in which case, the compass is, unless it is a ridiculously finely made compass, basically it's going to detect the same magnetic field that you're standing in. It's still,
It could be disrupted as well.
No.
19.
But the other thing is, why is there only a magnetic field for the north and not the south?
Well, the magnetic fields are switching. It's not a constant.
Well, you don't see the effect of a magnetic field in the south.
No. Do you have
Oh.
any? Go to the airfield. Go to Heathrow. You will find that the markings on the ground have been moved steadily over the years. This is happening because they go off magnetic, right? And the magnetic field changes over time, so they have to change the landing marks.
Really?
Because
Because of the movement.
because the navigation systems
Is
that
adjusting.
mankind depends on are basically usually depend on magnetic north and whatever else, and there's true north and magnetic north. But
I thought they used gyroscopes.
no,
and stuff
this is why when the magnetic field of the Earth flips,
Yeah.
and it will, or it will move wildly over time,
We're wobbling right now.
it
supposedly.
will really mess up human technology.
It's really weird because you're saying that the gravity, the magnetic field shifted, so they shift the landing marks a little bit. But if we're on a spinning globe
Yeah.
and a plane is flying and the globe's spinning at, say, in the equator about 1,000 odd miles per
A
hour.
lot.
Yeah, a lot.
It spins at a lot.
The speed, it spins very fast,
Yes.
faster than the plane.
Yes.
One, has the plane land on something in its correct position if it's moving at a faster rate?
Look, you got to remember the Earth is moving this far, and you're moving. Your inertia is matched by the Earth's inertia. Then your local inertia moves you side.
Because of the atmosphere, because we're inside the atmosphere.
Well, no, because there's a book by Terry Pratchett and was it Ian Banks or Baxter, called The Long Earth. The Long Earth goes with the idea that there are multiple dimensions, and they make a very simple machine that goes up and down the dimensional line. And as you get further along that dimensional line, you get to wilder and wilder ideas of what Earth can be, because everything's slightly different.
Cool.
And you get to a point where there is no Earth. The point where, and they transferring over it, what happens is they say, okay, switch over, and they're in space, but they're still moving at the same speed as the Earth. And it's a massive issue. It's a big problem.
That is a big issue.
And they very quickly switch on to the next one. But they invent a whole space system, and the idea is you accelerate while you're on this Earth, and then when you hit the other side, you have to accelerate to match the local area.
Like an apogee.
It's that Pratchett and Baxter did it better. They know the name.
I will look out. I'll check that.
The Long Earth. It's a
The Long Earth.
it's a very good set of books.
It sounds like a good book.
It is.
I could refer a good book to you as well. by Edwin A. Abbott. It's called Flatlands.
I think I've heard of that. Haven't read it.
Very good book. It's quite, written in a allegorical way, using geometry by a mathematician. It's about classism as well as that.
I have a dumb question. Are you recording all of this?
I am recording it.
Oh, excellent.
You don't mind?
No, I thought I'd actually better just technically check.
Yeah. Having such a good conversation. I was a fan of Tom Baker.
No, I have a YouTube channel. You can.
All right, I'll send it to you. Definitely.
You can look me up.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Tom Baker. There's my generation of Doctor Who. You know, I see that you're.
Hey, well, look, if anybody from the BBC finds this, you're looking for a new Doctor. Might be time for an Australian accent again in the TARDIS. I'll be okay if I'm a companion, but I'd make a hell of a Doctor too.
Well, we're going to need a K9. What are we going to get for a K9? Anyway, thanks. What's your name on camera? Sorry.
The Doctor.
The Doctor.
Yes, the Doctor. That'll do. That'll do.
All right, that'll do. Thanks very much. Great talking to you. Right. No, I got you already. Cheers.